Because I can hear the echo.
Here
All
we
right.
are.
Anyway,
We're live now.
welcome everybody. Welcome to Talking Niagara, and it is the 29th of January. Yeah, 2 days, a month will be over. And hey, Rick and Mike and Betty, what have you been doing with the month? You've been just running through it, haven't you guys?
Yeah. Hey, what's that? What's with that? Come on.
Yeah,
really,
I mean, I spent the last couple of days blaming Dave, but I think I've got to blame somebody else now.
Yeah, throwing the blame around is pretty good. Of course, as a good example, you don't want to get too exaggerated about throwing around blame, as we could see with the White House.
Well, I was just gonna.
Everybody's freaking out because everybody's lying too much and they can't keep track of their lies.
Yeah, I was just going to blame DJT as well, but I couldn't blame him in the same sentence as Mike and Betty and Co. Could I?
Well, all I know is I'm watching what's going on down there, and Miller's the guy that's under the gun right now. It was Noam, but now it's Miller, because she's saying that she got the false story from Miller, and Miller's saying, pointing the finger at everyone else, or at Border Patrol, saying that he got the false story from them. Nobody's asking the question, why didn't you check the story before you put it out there?
Yeah. Okay.
That's really professional, super professional.
Well, I think that actually goes along with our first story of the day, the one we didn't get to yesterday. CRA should own its own errors with COVID benefits. Basically, what has been happening, one of the big issues is that nobody knew how the book rules were to be communicated. Ottawa communicated its rules vaguely, encouraged speed over accuracy, told people to attest, not calculate. And for the first 3 weeks of the program, the CRA call center agents were given incorrect guidelines and told callers eligibility was based upon gross income rather than net income. Right? And actually, that makes a lot of difference for somebody like small business people, because in fact, a typical small business owner doesn't want much net income. They want their net income as close to zero as they can. Their gross income is going to be, way over zero.
Yeah, I have to go back because I read this a day or two ago, a couple days ago. Yeah.
Basically, a taxpayer, Paul Amatokovitz, sought court involvement because he had been stuck in an endless merry-go-round of costly judicial reviews and subsequent reconsiderations with the CRA over his entitlement to benefits. And the court released a decision chastising the CRA for its handling the man's claim to pandemic benefits, and offered pandemic era benefits offered to support workers during COVID.
Well, it's very clear, basically, that every democracy ran into this problem during COVID.
Yeah.
If you read what happened in Europe, what happened in the United States, what happened here, is there was a lot of COVID benefits going out there, trying to keep people above water while this was all happening. Businesses, ordinary people trying to get the POGI benefits, everything they were getting money for to keep everybody afloat. However, it was quickly done, and there was a lot of fraud, and there was a lot of mistaken.
There was a lot of errors.
Yeah.
There have been a heck of a lot of errors on this one. For example, ODSP and Ontario Works and other pre-existing benefit receivers being told by their workers, go collect CERB, when the answer was you have no right to serve because you already are on pre-existing benefits, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of mix-up, and there's a lot of honest mix-up, and they're talking about some honest mix-ups here, where somebody got money and felt it was fine. Everybody told them it was okay, and then all of a sudden the government comes back after it, and of course they can't afford to give that money back, and then they can't get a proper decision on whether or not they should or shouldn't be given this money back. The government is confused. People are confused. The whole system was confused. Now, I like to blame the Trudeau government for that, but when I look at what happened throughout the world at the time, we had a lot of very similar ideas happening, similar failures in the system. In an attempt to keep people going, they were throwing out money. We found a lot of people spending went way up during COVID.
Yeah,
people had money because they were getting CERB and so on and that.
Well, like exactly. So people who weren't entitled to such benefits because you were already on another form of benefits were suddenly getting $2,000 a month, which they didn't have the right to.
Yeah, I got this peculiar letter from the government that I was declined benefits. Or declined benefits, and I didn't even know what it was. I never had put any, nor did I ever intend to apply for any benefits like CERB or anything else. I didn't need any of that. I had an income coming in. I didn't need anything. And yet I got this letter that sort of denied me these benefits. So under further review, you don't get this. And I didn't apply for it. So
the whole thing was crazy. I remember you telling about that letter, and you weren't the only person that got that letter. A lot of people got that letter. And the other thing about this was that midway through my receipt, basically because my business suffered a great big loss because we went down, lost 90% of our business because of COVID at the time, right? Not legal business, what I was doing before then, and lost 90%. So I qualified. I went down, I had the 5,500, but to qualify for CERB, but midway through that thing, they determined that I didn't qualify. So I got to a point whereby they said they stopped paying, and I spent basically 8 weeks on the phone with a CRA agent in order to sort all this out. Obviously not 8 full weeks on the phone with the CRA agent, but but over a period of 8 weeks, I spoke to this CRA agent about 25 times.
Yeah, it's kind of I don't know what to say. It's like it's really disappointing. We expect the government not to be too efficient at most things, and I don't know. Everybody just kind of cringes if they're going to get into it with the government, because here we go. Yeah. You get on the phone and then somebody gives you to another person. This happened to me a few times where I'm transferred from person to person, and I finally come back to the original person I phoned. And they say, hello. And I say, hi. Remember me? I've been transferred 4 times and I'm back to you. They transferred me back to you. Said, you're the one that's supposed to take care of it in the first place. Oh, it's too late. Can you phone me back tomorrow? Kind of whatever. Yeah. But that's government.
Well, I was fortunate not to have the runaround because I spoke with a CRA agent, and he gave me the special number, the secret code that we would communicate through on a handshake. He gave me the special number, the telephone number that I had to contact him on, right? Which was a cell phone, but that was fine because that was how the CRA was operating at the time because everybody was working at home.
Yeah.
And the point being is that you get that, so long as you could do all of that stuff, so I guess that they haven't come chasing me because in the middle they stopped my SERB benefits anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, this whole article is basically about how they're sorting out this whole mess.
Yeah.
Who owns what? So the government started coming after people they had accidentally or in error given these benefits to. The people, some people kind of figured they really weren't eligible for them, but applied for them and got them. Other people just thought they were eligible for them, and now they're stuck with this bill. And they took the money in good faith. Some of them in not so good faith. So the government's got themselves into a real big mess.
And actually, I know of also another case where a person who worked for a government agency, so he didn't actually work for the government, but he worked for a government agency dealing with a certain line of work for certain type of workers, and he was told by his employer, even though he continued to work, he was told by his employer to actually apply for SERB. And naturally enough, the CRA came after him as well.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm pretty lucky, except for getting a letter rejecting my claim, which I didn't make. I remember looking at this. Did they get the name right? I'm reading this letter that I got from. Did they put my name on someone else's letter by mistake?
Yeah.
But I just pretty much it told me that I was being turned down for this benefit, which I didn't apply for. So that's okay. All right, no problem.
Yeah. It's just the whole thing has been a real mess, and there's been a lot of speculation over it. And I'm glad the courts have stepped in and said the CRA needs to own its own problems.
Yeah, and they better tidy it up as quickly as they can, because it's taking resources.
The key factor there is, why are they chasing benefit holders for money that benefit holders can never repay?
Well, that's true. Or they can garnish them a little at a time or whatever. They could say, look, we gave you all this money by mistake. Now we want it back. And you said, well, I spent it. I thought I was entitled to it. How am I going to give it to you back?
Yeah.
It was the government's mistake. They told the people that were entitled to it. And that's our tax dollars. And it'd be nice to recoup some of them. But what are we going to do? Put somebody under financial distress to bring it back? So basically all they're going to do is probably just garnish the people's wages or garnish their income or whatever else if they have a refund.
Yeah, but if you're on ODSP or Ontario Works or something, that benefit isn't garnishable.
Yeah, well, whatever the situation is, if you're working or they'll get at you at tax time and tell you that you owe X amount of dollars or whatever.
Yeah.
However, they got it this is just a big mess up. It's just an enormous amount of government process going on that eats up tax dollars. Is it worth it to go after these people to spend $1 million to get $100,000 back?
Yeah, actually, and the whole point about that is that some of these people, and why would the government be any different? Because, for example, one of the things I have to tell a lot of people, I want to sue Joey Jones, right? So tell me about Joey Jones.
So do I. I want to sue Joey Jones too, just because he's got a ridiculous name.
So tell me about Joey Jones. How can we sue him? What's he doing? Oh, he's on ODSP, right? So my next thing that I'm going to tell the person in front of me is, you've got zero chance of collecting unless he's got money independently.
Yeah. So what are you gonna do? Make the guy homeless just because he owes you money? And I don't know. It's but whatever. Anyway,
Yeah,
so let's move on because we pretty
absolutely.
well flogged that up to death.
Yep, absolutely. We had 3 comments, by the way, there. Yeah, this morning. Yeah, ministers were receiving it. Ministers? You mean church ministers, or do you mean government ministers?
Government ministers would be my guess on that one, Peter.
Yeah, dead people out of the country. Well, that's another one. But again, I do agree that they should be able to collect on if you were scamming the system. But the vast majority of people who were collecting CERB were doing it because they had been told that that was the right thing to do.
Well, if you're scamming, then you're a criminal. Criminals deserve to go to jail.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And be punished. So
criminals deserve to go to jail.
If you've done it with criminal intent,
yeah,
okay. Now there's that in between people that suspect hey, wait a minute, I probably aren't really entitled to this, but I'll take it because the government giving it to me.
Yeah, yeah, and at least you realized you weren't entitled to it, right? Anyway, moving on. Niagara is poised to lower the thresholds for winter shelter, and basically, Niagara advocates for living lived/living experience is holding a vigil on Thursday, January. This is today, 5:45 at the region headquarters, supporting a motion to change the emergency shelter threshold from -15 to 0 degrees. The shift aims to prevent deaths following the January.
Bob Allen's death last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
50-something-year-old man by the name of Bob Allen. He died right there in St. Catharines, running James Street, I think it was. And he froze to death. He froze to death after he was trying to get shelter. So, and he obviously then he was refused from some shelters, and in a temperature of about -8, he froze to death. That's on us, basically. Seriously, why are you rejecting a fella at -8? But I guess they have certain thresholds, and -15, it's a must. You have to take them in, a must. But previous to this, -8 wasn't cold enough. Don't ask me why. And now they're going to put the threshold at 0.
Well,
anything below 0, they will open up and let everyone in.
Yeah,
that seems to be rather cold, and I don't mean to make a pun there. Why, in the first place, was it -15? That's bitterly cold.
Yeah,
and you got to wait till it's -15 before you bring anybody in.
Yes, and you consider the last 3 weeks we've been running at a average temperature of way less than -10.
Yeah, it's probably the average temperature has been about around -12. It gets down to -18 and it goes up to a balmy -9.
Yeah.
But yesterday I was like, I almost went into shorts. It was -10. Went up to -10.
Actually, I went out in my cardigan to the car yesterday at the office just to get something in at -8, I think. But I didn't feel it was cold because it was in the sunshine.
Yeah.
Right? So that was a good thing. All right. And the threshold change, I'm like you. Why wasn't it 0 in the first place years ago?
I mean, when you got a guy freezing to death right on a city street, number one, I know if somebody saw the guy lying there. I know somebody did and just passed him by. And
you're not talking about somebody driving by.
Somebody's phoned the cops and said there's a guy lying down there. Anyway, there are thresholds, and what they do at certain different temperatures, they go out to the encampments. They bring blankets and other warm stuff, gloves and blankets and stuff like that for people that can't get into the shelters. So this is basically, we have to protect our own. As frustrated as we are with the homeless people, We can't let them die,
Yeah.
right? So here's what happens at 0 degrees. Individuals with information about cold weather, health risks, and offer winter supplies such as hats, gloves, blankets, and hand warmers. At -5, more frequent outreach visits are made to encampments and other outdoor areas with Niagara assertive street outreach, undertaking safety checks and distributing winter supplies while encouraging people to use emergency shelters. That's at -5. At -10, homeless services declare a winter weather advisory and open emergency overnight beds in St. George Anglican Church in St. Catharines, about 50, Summer Street in Niagara at 25 beds, and the Ontario Shelter Welland 15. Emergency shelters lift service restrictions on individuals where safe to do so. Niagara Transit launches extreme weather relief program with free rides to designated public warming facilities. And teams conduct daily wellness checks at -15. Emergency management issues a weather alert and coordinates response among homeless services agencies. They're trying to find people they can't find and see if they can get them into a shelter.
Did that article publish the heating facilities?
Heating facilities?
The warming facilities that the homeless can go to.
Oh, it did. I just told you them. Not all of them. They just said they opened up at certain times. They will open up. The ones in the Summer Street will open up extra beds in Niagara, 25. And St. George Anglican Church will be adding another 50. That's in St. Catharines. And in Welland is the Ontario Road.
What you're bringing there was shelters, not the facilities for keeping people warm.
I don't get you.
There was supposed to be some places that they're taking that people can go to keep warm, to get warm in.
Well, I just told you the ones that were the overnight ones there that they open up. During the day, typically they'll go to the bus station, they'll go to a library. You can go to libraries. You can go to the library to warm up. You can go to the Gale Center. You can go to those places. During these times, we're really cold during the day. They put up with homeless people. During the summertime or something, they won't in the libraries, at least for a little. But they will. I think one of the other articles we had earlier talked about the library, the Gale Center, places like that where you can stay warm. But overnight, you have to go. You would have to go to the shelter.
Oh, you have to go to the shelter, I know, but
overnight. But during the daytime, the libraries and Gale Center is. I think we talked about this yesterday, a couple of days ago, did we not?
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether they'd been publicized. That's all. That was my question. Okay, that's fine.
Find out. All right, we'll just look it up. I think we talked about it. I just haven't forgot about places to stay warm. Niagara Falls.
Basically, okay. So Mike's saying there needs to be some more room. Of course there are, and 85,000 homeless in Ontario. That's not the ones that are not counted. Yeah. Because there's, on top of that, there's a lot of people who are just living in.
All right. It says where to keep warm. It says St. George's Anglican Church in St. Catharines, Summer Street in Niagara, Ontario Road Shelter in Welland, St. Catharines Kiwanis Aquatic Center, St. Catharines Museum, and Welland Canal Center, Seymour Hanna Sports and Entertainment Center on St. Paul Street, libraries, the Central Library, 54th Street, Thorold, the library and Thorold Community Centers in Niagara Falls, the Gale Center, McBain Center, and the libraries, the Victoria Avenue branch, the McBain City branch, the Stamford branch, and Niagara Lake Community Center. So the libraries, then the community centers are open to stay warm. Of course, you can't stay there overnight, but you can stay there, get warm during the day. And then for the overnight stuff, you'll have to go to a shelter.
Yep.
So.
All right. Okay. Thank you. I think that was an important service that we've done there, and because you need to publish, we need to get where these places are. Okay. Moving.
Yeah, that's in the Niagara. That's in the Niagara. Niagara This Week article.
Yeah.
About the different places you can go, but we talked about that anyway. We talked about that a couple days
did.
ago. We mentioned the same places. We mentioned the very same places. So.
Yeah. All right. Just wanted to make sure it's out there, right? Okay. Mayor touts an improved city budget as being very respectful for the people of Niagara Falls, and basically, it's the average homeowner would be paying an extra $77.50 in municipal taxes, and the increase was driven by a 2% capital levy hike on roads and operating costs, and reflects inflationary pressures while addressing needs like cybersecurity.
Well, the sage after sage throughout time has said the only two certainties in life is death and taxes, and you only die once, but you get taxed forever.
Yeah.
Up until that time, and right now the city is touting the fact that they have been very, very reasonable in their tax increase. And imagine Paul K. Lemire is fuming out the ears, and smoke is coming out of his ears when he's looking at this.
I would largely be agreeing, but I'll tell you one thing, that this 77, if we are talking about a 2% and $77 in municipal taxes, then I'm thinking it could have been a whole heap worse.
It's not 2%. It isn't. You're looking at the region's going to put it up 7%. And we're putting it up $77. And if they put in their 6% or their 7%, they're going to be charging us another $160. $160 accounts for 54% of the increase, and $77 accounts for the increase in Niagara. So here our increase here is probably about 4%. It doesn't really give you the percentages. It breaks down percentages in area. You get 2% here, this or that. But overall percentage, they don't give it to you. They give you portions of it. This will be 2%. That'll be that. This will be this.
Yeah.
So we're going to get $78 basically increase, and if you compare it to the region's increase, it seems reasonable. Now the region's increase will be 160, will be close to 7%. That's what it looks like now. And then if you look at Niagara's, it would be kind of like about 50% of that. If it's 50% of that, then you're looking at 3.5%, which would seem to be pretty reasonable.
And the $77, by the way, is if it was the average increase of $77 is based upon a home assessed at $280,000. So actually, I don't know that's average. I think most homes are probably currently rated at about assessed at $280,000. That's not necessarily.
Yeah, you got to remember it's a mill rate, eh? It's a mill rate. And it was a whole lot different.
I realized what I was about to say was in error. It's the home assessment by MCAP, not so. And the MCAP assessments are actually quite old by now.
So everyone can expect somewhere in between $200 to $300, the average person, increase in their taxes this year. That's municipal taxes. Wait till the federal and provincial tax increases come. Woohoo! We will be so happy. Yes, 16 tons, and what do I get? Another day older and deeper in debt. 16 tons of snow, that is. And
Well,
I don't
actually,
know.
I've heard through the grapevine yesterday that, in fact, actually, St. Catherine's stores and the municipality is pretty well out of salt.
Yeah, there's a shortage of salt. We can't get enough salt for our own parking lot here. There's a Ontario-wide shortage of salt. Isn't that wonderful?
Well, actually, it's weird because I had to get something in Canadian Tire on Saturday, last Saturday, and I could see a salt as far as the eye could see.
I don't know what it is with road salt. It's not out there, but that stuff had been packaged long ago. So, but they're talking about the stuff for road salt. That's you just go up and get it from front end loaders and dump it in the back of your dump truck and spreaders.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about that, but anyway, so we're going to get more taxes, and is it worthwhile to us? I can't. I've done these budget reviews and things with Paul Lemire and that, and anytime I look them over, I didn't do it this last month, but the other times when I was in there with Paul and we looked at budgets and stuff like that, I seriously cannot see how it's going to be much less than that when everything goes up.
Yeah.
In Niagara Falls, we have this legacy of the fire department, which eats up 25% of our money.
Yeah.
In the region, they have the Niagara Regional Police, which is a huge sinkhole of money.
Yeah.
And then you try to take what's left over and distribute it because you're going to need roads fixed and other things happening. The mayor here has touted that things have changed since he has come into office originally. Cybersecurity and homelessness were not issues at all when he began.
Of course not.
Right? And these are more.
I agree with the mayor.
Yes, and these are more financial drains on the city. Now, cybersecurity, he points out that there's a no-brainer there. You have to get cybersecurity, and as a matter of fact, our city's has had a cyber attack already.
Yeah, but again, let me point out that as an IT professional, I believe when I looked at our city budget spending on IT, I think it's insane. They're spending way too much. We pay way too much for the software that they purchase.
Well, they've said that they were way behind, and I believe it. And they had to upgrade it.
They are.
And that was the source. When Burgess came in, he was kind of appalled at how backward we were. And I can tell you, too, the Niagara Falls has had a history of being way behind technologically. I know this because I've known people who have worked in different departments and moved to a different department, and they were still using typewriters with triplicate paper.
Yeah.
Where just about 99% of anyone else anywhere in the world were using computers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I get it. And we have been behind the times, and I was with the CAO on that question about our IT upgrade because we were wasting a lot of money. We were hemorrhaging money at the time on ancient IT technology.
Yeah, in order to bring it up to snuff, you got to spend money, and that's what CAO Burgess has done.
But again,
he's an efficient fellow, and he wants to bring things up to date. But you cannot bring things up. You cannot do half measures with this. And this is where I kind of defend him in a way, because if you keep doing half measures and bringing your stuff, so it's your stuff is 10 years behind, so you spend enough money into bringing it 5 years behind. Well, it's never going to work right. You got to bite the bullet and bring it up to snuff. Yeah, you got to bite the bullet and bring it up to snuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And that costs money.
Yeah.
In the end, it will save money, though. In the long run, it will save money, because if you keep pace with change, and in this particular case, when we've already been attacked by a cyber attack, Yeah, what kind of argument can you make about that? You can't. You
Yeah,
got to
you
spend
can't.
the money on
Yeah.
it.
And at the end of the day, but the thing about new technology with it, with information technology and computers, yes, you may spend to bring your system from a raggedy old system that was built in the built in the 1980s up to the brand new system for the 2020s. You have to you have to go through a lot of pain, a lot of agony in order to make that happen. But once you're there and you're getting updates through with with 2020 technology, the pain on those updates, the cost on those updates is a heck of a lot less.
Yeah, and the city staff is really bumming because they can't really get the new games going if they don't have the proper equipment. I mean, there's a lot of new video games out there that need better equipment. We need better equipment so that our city
Video games.
you can't.
Yeah. You're not allowed to play video. You're not allowed to play video games. That's just out of order, Dave.
Well, I'm not saying that the staff do, but I'm pretty sure like the human resources people and those are doing that all the time, right?
If you're playing video games, you're out of your job.
Yeah, but yeah. So basically, we'd be kind of a backward-looking city as far as technology is concerned, and you could tell that by the arguments by which C.A. Burgess has when he's trying to save us nearly a quarter, or like what, $220,000 by shifting our dispatch to St. Catharines would save us, and making the argument and having the ignorance of city councilors argue against this on the basis of their ignorance rather than their and so you got to say to yourself, how is it we got to the point where our counselors or whatever else are arguing for an old system based on the ignorance that they feel, and the people who know what they're talking about are not being listened to. Well, they are now, of course, but
yeah, it was a year later, and of course, when you do things a year later, it costs more money, right? But the important thing, and I think that both you and I agree upon there, is that when the CAO made that proposal, that the key factor there is that nobody would lose their job by the move to St. Catharines.
Yeah, and it was just this sort of egocentric control freak type of fire department. We can't lose anything. We got to control everything. But they're not really. But they don't understand and then the counselors like are saying, oh well, we shouldn't do that, because based on wrong information they have and a little understanding of what the technology was.
Yeah.
And anyway, so our budget, we're going to face a tax increase. Oh my! Oh, I didn't expect that. Well, of course I expected it. Everyone expects tax increases.
I know.
But we find these huge tax increases on the region. 9, 7. We're going for another 7 again. Can we even rein that in? Are we going to be expecting 7 to 10% increases every year out of the region?
Yeah,
that's my question here.
That's a big concern. I think the city has done its part to rein the budget in as much as it can. I do congratulate, and inevitably we were going to get something. We were going to get some increase. It's always bad news to get an increase, but I think on this year the city has done its job and reined in the spending as much as it can.
My worry is always the kick the can down the road thing, and we found that's had a disastrous effect on our water treatment. Our water treatment facilities and our sewage facilities are way overdate. They're way overdone. They're being held together by duct tape and wire.
Yeah,
basically, and that is because irresponsible or actually ignorant counselors on a whole kick that down the road, and could say to the residents, "Hey, look, I kept your taxes down," but what isn't said is I deferred your taxes to much later because you're going to get a big, huge bill when these places fall apart.
And by the way, your water is poisonous.
Yeah, basically. So so we see what happens when you want to when you cannot convince your residents that this tax is a good tax because part of it, because you're going to have to do something with your water and wastewater. So they kick it down the road and brag to everybody, I kept your taxes down. But now those politicians are long out of office, and we have to put up with their mistakes and have to pay for those mistakes because they ignored what was essential to keep those places up and going properly and put the proper investment in it.
Yeah. Okay. I want to advertise something for a moment, which was given to me by Mike Cushman. Niagara Falls Town Hall meeting for the Niagara Health Coalition. And basically they are looking at restore and improve our hospital services. This is a public meeting that's going to happen on Friday, 27th of February of 2026 at the Gale Center. And they're basically saying, we want to hear what you have to say. Planning the next steps to restore and enhance public health services within our community.
When is the date of that again?
It is Friday, 27th of February, 2026, between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m.
6:30 and 8:30.
Yeah.
And where's that again?
At the Gale Center.
Gale Center. Okay.
Yeah. Which is on Thorold Stone Road, 5152 Thorold Stone Road. There you go.
There you go. It's you can't miss it.
Yeah.
Well, for one thing, the road ends there, so go down Thorold Stone Road until it stops, and then look to the right in that big white building. That's where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay, so so it might have passed a few people by because I don't think they necessarily felt it here. We got a couple of comments. Morning, Paul, from Gary, and sorry, Paul, I misspelled your name. Sorry. Okay. All right. Morning, Betty. Right. Okay. From the guys. Okay. Right. You may have felt it 2 nights ago, Tuesday night. There was some faint rumblings because there was a 3.7 earthquake in Aurelia.
I didn't feel a thing. No, I didn't. It was 3.7. That's pretty small, man. That's pretty small.
That's what I told you about. That's what I told you about when I was in England. The place there. The hostel, I was staying in a hostel and got a 3.7 earthquake in that village. I felt it there, but it was like somebody shook my bed.
Well, about 35 years ago, we had a significant little rumble here in Niagara, and somebody I knew woke up at night. A lady woke up at night, and she, of course, everything's shaking. And she immediately thought she was being possessed by evil demons.
Well, I guess that's one explanation of demon possession. Yeah.
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 See why? Well, yeah, but I don't think they let you know when the demon comes in. They don't let you know. Hey, I'm coming in. Shake, shake, shake.
Yeah.
I'm possessing you now. Anyway, so the I don't know. I don't know what kind of fault lines we have here. We do have a problem here. And one of the issues, and I'll put it out there, I mean, Pat Sirianni, one of the town historians, pointed this out when there was going to be a condominium built right on River Road there that's not being built now. But he pointed out that this is an earthquake zone here. There is potential for earthquakes in and around this area. and it was right on the cusp of the escarpment, which, in his view, may have put it at risk for falling in.
My understanding was that was that area where that proposed building was actually right next to a former quarry site, which the families, the older families used back in the 19th century, or might have been 18th century.
The 18th century, we didn't have too many people living here in the 18th century, just in the very last couple of decades of the 18th century. So it'd probably be the early 19th century. It probably would have been a quarry. Remember, all that was farmland, right there. There was a house close to my house that was built in 1869 there. I remember that house. And there was a couple of houses, very old houses, but they're mostly farmhouses that were converted to residential.
Yeah. And but the quarry that was built to make much of the it was an old quarry, but I don't remember exactly when it dates from. But but that was in the area where that building was planned, and there was concern raised by engineers over that.
There could have been, but still, we do have a risk of earthquakes here. Although I don't think we'll ever get the fault lines, and they're old-fashioned ones. They are left over from years ago, and there's a couple of different ways in which earthquakes can happen. Of course, it's the plate tectonics and the subduction of one plate under another one, and that causes, and when they drag too much, right, then they release the energy. But the other ones are old volcanoes, spouts and things that are under there. And I think in our particular case, we have some old fault lines and maybe some old, like ancient volcano activity that's been built millions of years long gone. But some of the effects of that under the geology of the place still have some effect. So it's very unlikely that we'll get a very big earthquake, but we'll get small ones.
Well, the other ones, of course, is the plates that are moving across one another sideways, rotating around.
Yeah, side by side. Yeah. Those ones going side by side.
Yeah. That's what causes much of the California earthquakes, although the California region, the Rocky Mountains, also has volcanic activity.
Well, they have the plate subduction there, as well as the side-by-side plate, but they have the big North American plate and the Asian or Pacific plate, and one is subducting under the other, and that would be the Pacific sort of subducting under the land of California. You've got that great San Andreas fault line there, and and any day there's going to be an earthquake, and California is going to fall off into the sea.
That's exactly it. Yeah. We've been waiting. In California, they've been waiting for the big one, right?
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm still waiting for a war between Canada and the U.S. because the last time Canada and the U.S. had a war, the U.S. burned down Toronto, and then the Canadian militia and British forces then burned down Washington. If we could do that again, that would be a positive outcome.
Well, what bothers me about all of that one is why didn't they at the time offer them? We can offer you peace on our terms, which is re-entry into the British Empire.
I think right now I just think that if we did have a mini war like we did in 1812, and Toronto gets burned and Washington gets burned down, it would be a positive result for everyone.
All right, let's move on to what the U.S. Treasury Secretary said to Mark Carney. He's talking about stopping virtual signaling amid the looming trade talks, because they're due to have trade talks about renegotiating CUSMA in the upcoming few weeks, and he's saying, and Besant is saying that this is getting in the way.
this is a bunch. Like, I don't know. Like, Washington really is like you expect spin in your favor no matter what side you're on. So Canada spins a little bit in their favor. Washington spins it a bit in their favor. But right now you have just downright lies.
Yeah,
And first of all, Trump says when pointing out that Carney went off to China and other places looking for trade deals, or uh, not really looking for trade deals, but trying to sort of put trade back to where it was. And Trump says, "Oh, that's fine. Well, that's what I would have done too, and that's what I did do. I went to China, we made deals." Then all of a sudden, um, Carney gets a lot of international notice because of the speech he made at Davos. And all of a sudden, he had a better speech than Trump. So now Trump's really, really mad at him, right? So he threatens 100% tariffs on all Canadian goods. Well, that would alarm the American farmer. That would alarm the American industrialist. That would alarm 26 of the states of the U.S. because Canada is their number one trading partner. So it was just a ridiculous thing, and they keep saying things like you're virtue signaling, and you're trying to pick a fight with us, and you're trying to dump Chinese stuff here. All that is over the top BS. They're threatening. They're threatening, and they're saying, "Oh well, they themselves are the ones that are virtue signaling, saying." Oh, you better not do that. You're insulting us and all that. And then he's calling Carney the governor of Canada and all the same old insults, the constant insults, the constant hyperbole, the constant exaggeration, and the constant lying that comes out of Washington. Whoever's going to pay much attention to that? We're getting kind of used to it.
yeah,
So Carney's just pretty much, and then they said, okay, well, Carney phoned Washington, phoned Trump, and apologized and said he draws all that back. And Carney, on the other hand, says, no, I just reaffirmed what I said. I phoned Washington. I said I meant what I said at Davos. And he probably tried to explain it. He tried to tell them that, no, we do not have a free trade deal with China. For some reason, somebody said that, and the fools down in Washington pretended to believe it. And so, no, there will be no free trade.
there have been, I think the difference is that, yes, there is no free trade deal with China. What there has been is negotiations with China over certain things, right?
Well, normalization of trade. Remember, we got into a trade tiff. They put 100% tariff on our canola oil, which really affects our farmers, and we don't want that. We want them to have the market for canola oil and seed. We want our fisher folk to have market, because that's another big thing. Seafood and pork and beef and other things. We did provide a lot of pork to China. Remember, China is looking for agricultural countries that can supply them with food stuff, because they have such a huge population and they have limited ability to grow that stuff themselves. So places like Brazil, the United States, and Canada can supply a lot of foodstuffs to China. In the meantime, though, they're not going to put up with us putting 100% tariff on their cars, so they're going to put 100% tariff on our canola oil and our seafood and other things. So basically, what they did do is just normalize things and got it back to before the Biden administration. When the Biden administration put 100% tariff on Chinese electric cars, Canada followed suit, like little children. You do it, I do it, and what they did this time was just brought it back to the point where we were prior to that. So he's normalized trade with them. He's normalized trade with India too. Basically, what he has done is what he should be doing, and probably if Trump was privately talking to you, he'd say, yeah, that's exactly what you should be doing, because that's what I'm doing, right? I'm using the threat of tariffs to normalize trade. Canada can't do that, so they have to go and make deals here and there. So we've made deals with India, we made deals with China, we made deals with Qatar, we're looking for more deals with Mexico, et cetera, et cetera. So these are normal, ordinary trade negotiations, but of course, Washington has to blow it up and make it look stupid. Whereas the whole world loved Carney's address at Davos, Lutnick and Besant and Trump have to denounce it. And Trump is really, really mad because he wanted to be the guy that got the most attention from his speech, which was 70 minutes of rambling. And Carney was directly and succinctly to the point. And that's why it got so much attention.
And Carney rightfully got that attention because he wasn't seeking attention. He was just telling the truth as he saw it.
And then you get things like Besson saying, "Oh, I've seen lots of bankers like Carney go into politics, and it's never good. It never works out good." No, just a idiotic comments. I don't understand the BS that's coming out of Washington. It's so insane. Nobody will believe anything they ever say. I don't believe anything. The one thing I did hear from Besant, though, or not Besant, but Lutnick, that made sense a little while ago is that he talked about the difference between China and the United States when it comes to energy. He says, why would we want sun and solar when we don't make batteries? The Chinese do. Chinese make the photocells. Somebody else makes the turbines. Why would we want that? That makes us reliant on somebody else. Of course, he doesn't talk about the United States building technology, battery technology. It was theirs in the first place. They sold it. Anyway, so he says it makes more sense for us to use up our energy like gas and oil and stuff like that and forget about that stuff in the meantime. Seems to be rather limited, but on the short term, I suppose you'd be right. But other than that, Lutnick's never said anything made any sense to me at all.
Yeah. All right. So just a quick one. Nancy, basically from Cleveland, is basically saying good morning. And she's saying, I hope you're warm in it's cold out there. The Arctic temperatures are our main story this week down in Cleveland. And that's been one of our main stories. We said at the beginning of the show, Nancy, that when it came down to it, we've had negative temperatures on the whole. We were talking about the homeless situation. We've had probably negative 12 average temperatures for much of the last 3 weeks.
Right? That would be about 10 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah. And
so we're about 10 degrees Fahrenheit on our average of late.
Yeah. And only once did it go to 0.
Yeah. Well, today, right now, it's minus 12, but don't be discouraged because it's going up to minus 11 later.
Yeah. And the current also thing, while we're talking about that, is snow plows are still out there on the roads. Even though the roads are mainly clear, snow plows are actually out there currently on the QEW heading towards St. Catharines, where the 405 joins it. Currently down on the 406 between St. Catharines in the Thorold area, on the QEW in the Fort Erie area, on Highway 3 in the Fort Erie area, in the Port Coburn area. So the snowplow's still active out there, guys. But I'm guessing that they're primarily clearing the mess up. And the question then also goes as to when are the snowplows on the city streets, guys?
Well, here it is. Like today, the high is going to be minus 11. The low is minus 18.
Yep.
Wow. We have to wait until Monday before it goes up to a balmy minus 3. Then I can put my shorts back on, I'm sure. It's going to be minus 3. It's going to feel like summer.
Are you going to be, when it's minus 3 on Monday, are you going to be out there next to the barbecue cooking sausages, are you? With your shorts on?
I know. I'll make some cold lemonade to keep my temperature down. It's going up to minus 3. I don't want to overheat.
There we go. Yeah, but that was the, I was just there talking really about a great Canadian tradition with, cooking on the barbecue in the winter.
Yeah, that happens. Sure. I used to do it
Yeah.
myself. When I had a house, they go out in the back and just, get your barbecue going and cook out there.
And well, the ice is around my barbecue right now. I've got about 3 foot of ice around the edge of the barbecue, right on the deck. Anyway, well, come back. I think we kind of reached the end today.
Yes, indeed. And so the business about Kuzma and all that, or USMCA, whoever you do, the hyperbole around it. I think we're getting very used to the noise and the name calling and all that, and the threats. They're not as nearly as effective as they were before. The great deal maker comes on and threatens everybody to the maximum to see how scared they get. It didn't work with China, of course. They didn't get scared at all. They said, okay, if you want a war, we're going to go to war. We'll have, you give us 145 and we'll give you 125% tariffs, and we'll just see who wins in the end. Trump, of course, didn't like that, and it didn't work. He tried that twice, didn't work. And then finally he had to shake hands with Xi Jinping. But he's going to have more of an effect against us because we're much more reliant on them. But we have signaled to the United States that there are other alternatives for a lot of our goods, and they will have to sign a Kuzma agreement. Let me put it that way. They say that, we don't need it anymore. We're nothing like that. Let's make it very clear that huge, like 26 states in the United States, over half of them, their number one trading partner is Canada, plus all the essential stuff that comes from Canada, like aluminum, nickel, and potash, et cetera, lumber, that kind of thing. It will have to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen because there will be a riot in the United States if they try to pull that stunt. So the free trade agreement that we have with the United States is good for both sides. They absolutely know it. So all the chest and the insults and
certainly the industrialists know it, right? The people who is impacted by the day-to-day operation of movement of goods across the border. They all know that.
The madman theory that Kissinger came up with during the Vietnam War, and it's being tried pretty successfully right now by Trump up until this time, where he's cowed Europe, and he tried to cow us, and he tried to cow, that kind of thing. And he's got people, giving him gifts of gold and everything else just to shut him up, or inventing a peace prize, like a FIFA peace prize, so that they can get to him. So in the end, the free trade between Canada and the U.S. is extremely important for the U.S., and we'll see about that. All that huff and bluster from Bassett and Lutnick and Trump, it's just a whole lot of rubbish.
Yeah. All right. And Dave?
Yes, and one last thing, I always want to bring up Gaza. That's beginning to be normalized a little bit now. It's on tenterhooks, and I hope that it happens. I just want those children to get back to normal life. They will be traumatized for their entire life.
Yeah.
But let's make whatever life they have left long and prosperous as best we can, and let's never have that happen again. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
The West was so jelly-backed weak when that happened. They're supposed to be protecting the average person, and they allowed collective punishment to happen in the most terrible way. Anyway, without further ado, I bid you adieu.
Yeah, and have a great day, everybody.